Yeah, I think we're going to be glued to unemployment numbers, obviously, and inflation numbers are the obvious one. But if unemployment starts, and there are some signs that it's going to creep up just a small amount, and if it does start to creep up a little bit to say 3.8, 3.9, 4, 4.1, somewhere in that neighborhood, and economists argue over the perfect unemployment rate. People say, well, how can there be anything but zero be the perfect unemployment rate, right? But to an economist, there is a perfect unemployment rate, and it's not zero, because if you have zero unemployment, then you have too much wage pressure, meaning that the employees are in charge, in which they have been to some degree over the last year, of what they get paid, right? If there's nobody available in the pool, now all the businesses are competing by bumping up their pay, which isn't wage inflation, which is a different kind of inflation, but not ideal to run an economy on, if you will. So people would say, and if academically, when I remember studying this in school, and the argument was always somewhere between, say, 3 and 4, somewhere in that neighborhood is the perfect unemployment rate. So, but if we see that start to tick up, that will be a sign to the Fed that the economy is slowing a little bit. At least the velocity of money, the amount of money that's in the system is slowing. Businesses are peeling back a little bit on investment. So my point in that is, if you see the unemployment rate rise and you wonder, well, why is the stock market up? It's because the stock market will see that unemployment has gone up and know that the Fed will slow their tightening of monetary policy, likely in response to that. So that's what you would think is a negative, would actually, and is for people obviously who are seeking jobs, is somewhat of a positive for markets.
Yeah, there's always, as we just said, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and it not necessarily a train.
Depending on who you are, it's not a train, and then again, it might be a train.
Does the stock market always have something that you can bet against, essentially?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that is the stock market, right? Every trade's got a buyer and a seller, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you buy a stock, you have to assume you're smarter than the person selling it to you, right? That's the way our system works. So if you go out and you say, I'm going to buy, I see Tesla's trading at $150 or 200 or whatever the number is, there's somebody selling you that stock that thinks it's going to trade at half that at some point, maybe in the not too distant future. So again, you have to be smarter than the other person on the other side of the trade.
Oh, right. The person on the other side of my trades, genius.
Yeah, they're looking for you.
Yeah.
Is this Ryan?
I get emails like, hey, sure you don't want to keep trading right now? Like, no, I'm holding. Like, that's how I just know. It's like, don't you want to sell this right now? No. No, don't.
Are you sure?
I got reverse Robin Hood.
Yeah.
They take from the poor.
There's a Ryan indicator out there. Whatever you're selling, people start buying.
There has to. It just seems like whatever I'm into, the opposite's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it could be a football team, it could be a stock. Like, as soon as I start paying attention to it and want it to do something good.
Yeah, because I got news for you. The weather was great till you came home from Germany.
I know.
Oh yeah.
I know.
True.
I don't want to say I'm responsible for the hurricane, because I don't want that to go out on FCC radio.
Yeah.
But do you have any superstition when it comes to trading, or it's all analytics, right? I'm not talking for your business, obviously for the business, but so you don't do what I do, where I'm like, okay, I feel it in me. This stock is going to go that way.
I don't have a lucky rock or a rabbit's foot or
just
a horseshoe.
Boring analytics and numbers and financial meetings.
I can't trade today. I walked under a ladder, honey. No, it's not anything like that. It's I'm not superstitious to begin with, so that would be a reach for me.
Yeah. Well, okay. Then that's why you want to use EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. You don't want to use tealeavestrader.org. Tell you that right now. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is where you want to go. And my family uses it. It's an awesome service. And plus, they have the website itself also has all the free content, past shows, the financial talk with Tammy, along with amazing blogs and things like that. So check it out. We'll be right back with more It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Sunday. If you want to get a hold of Edgewater Family Wealth, Scott Brown and Tammy are there. It's edgewaterfamilywealth.com. It is a trove of information and fun stuff. It's free to check out the website, of course. That's Edgewater Family Wealth. And then you can get in contact with them as well. But we're here hanging out on a Sunday, and I like hanging out with you guys. It's going to seem weird, but I feel like I'm doing better financially since we've started this show even just like, just hanging out with you guys. And I've been thinking about that in my life too, where it's like, where I'm at right now, everybody around me is doing pretty okay, and that's much different than when I was at, like, it was like my 20s, where I hung out with some real scumbags. You know what I mean? Like, even not like they were bad people. They were just like, we're just living a 20s lifestyle, not really caring too much about what we're doing financially. A lot of like working in bars and stuff.
Yeah.
The ladies I dated, terrible credit. But like now I've noticed that like all of my friends and the people I talk to and hang out with, just kind of socially that I meet too, all tend to kind of be doing okay. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's something I did on purpose.
Well, I mean, I think you attract people, depending on how you behave or carry yourself or whatever it is. And they say, I've read numerous places and to varying degrees, 6, 5, 4, I don't know what the number is, but you're the average of the 5 or 4 people that you spend the most time with, right? And, certainly if you're married, your spouse has a big influence, whether you think so or not. A lot of us think our spouses don't influence us, but they certainly do, whether we know it or not. And like you said, being around us, I mean, we talk about money, we live money. It's, it's our life 24/7. So you almost have no choice but through osmosis to start to pick up on some things. And, it's like the car thing, right? You buy a new Honda Accord and then suddenly you see Honda Accords everywhere.
The bottom Meinhof.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the reality is that is true. It may not be directly true, but it's somewhat true. And who you hang out with likely will. Because if you hang out with a bunch of idiots that spend all their money, they spend all their time in bars, and all they want to talk about is, fantasy football. And then they're like borrowing $20 from you to buy this or do that or get lunch or whatever. Or, you're going to be that to some degree. Some people say, well, should I get rid of all my friends just because they don't have money? Well, the answer is no, you shouldn't. But be conscious of how much time you spend with them, because again, if they're spending all their time in bars and you're their friend, well, guess where you're going to be spending your time, right? By you're guilty by association. So I think being around people who are successful and talk, I was the same way and I think a lot of us, when we're young, we do young people stuff. We go out, we like to have a good time. We're going to live forever. Have that extra beer, have that extra drink, do that extra dumb thing.
Oh yeah. Remember No Hangovers? That was awesome.
Vaguely. Now I have
it's like a sip of beer. I'm hungover for 2 days.
Yeah. It's like looking at a wine bottle makes me nauseous. It's not as fun as it used to be, that's for sure. But so we do. You shouldn't feel bad about that. And I don't think anybody should feel bad for being young and living a young life. And I think there's something to be said for living a young life, even into your mid to late 50s, 60s, 70s. I got clients in their 80s that live what I would consider a young life. But with that understood, intellectually, habit-wise, the things that you do and the habits you form are if you have friends that they're onto crypto now and they'll be onto something in 6 weeks, and they were into tech stocks at one point. They say that the average American changes economic track, if you will, about every 90 days. And what I mean by that is the thing they were enamored with and they were sure this is the thing. And it could be a stock, it could be a meme stock, it could be a regular stock, it could be Tesla, it could be Amazon, it could be cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, it could be gold, whatever it is. They're onto this thing and they're on it hard for about a couple of weeks, right? Because somebody in their circle said, hey, man, did you look at Ethereum? I mean, Ethereum's the thing, man. Look, if you're not in Ethereum. So first of all, when a person is that, I call that absolute guy. Like, I'm absolutely sure
100%.
This 100%, this can't miss, which is a sheer sign you should run in the other direction, right? But, when someone's giving you advice, I don't care what it is, if it's health advice, right? Guy's like, hey, listen, man, this is what I do. And the guy's 200 pounds overweight and he's got a cheeseburger in one hand and a 48-ounce Mountain Dew in the other one. That's probably not the guy you should be taking advice from on health, right? I mean, that's pretty simple, right? So when I used to do a lot of public speaking, I would at corporations and whatnot, the employees would come up and they're like, well, there's Jim. He always has his laptop. He's always, we always all talk to Jim, right? And I'm like, well, Jim's coming to work every day, right? With you? Why are you listening to Jim? If Jim were independently wealthy because he was so brilliant, I promise you, he's not coming to work anymore.
Spreadsheets,
right? Right. So, not to say Jim isn't smart, but what I am saying is look at the person you're talking to. In my life, the one thing I did understand is to look at people that were economically better off than I was, who had been successful, and not just economically, but academically or just in terms of their aura, like what they were more thoughtful than I was, they were more learned than I was, they were more educated than I was, they knew more about life, and those are the people I've always gravitated towards. So you need to look upstream. Don't be looking at your idiot buddy when you're 25 who's just as drunk as you, or you're 7 rounds into beer pong. This is the guy I want to get my advice from, right? Look at that uncle or that, the uncle that your parents always make fun of when he leaves because he only cares about money. Go find that guy because they're only being bitter about the fact that he has more money, right? Go find he's an entrepreneur. He's a success. What they do to people who are successful is we demonize him, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's only rich.
You know what they did. Yeah.
Only it's because he steals from people. Right, Uncle Bob. That's why he's rich.
Easy way out.
Yeah, it's clearly they did something wrong or illegal or immoral because otherwise you'd be doing it.
Oh yeah, I've heard that so many times. Like, no good person is wealthy. Right?
No good person is. Yeah. People who are literally giving their fortunes away.
Yeah.
No, they're just better.
That's because they get a tax break. Scott. I know that.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard it all. It's because they're better at this game than you are. They're better at making money. It doesn't mean they're bad people. In fact, a lot of very wealthy people are tremendously great. In fact, I'll give you an example in my business, in the investment business. There's financial advisors or whatever we're calling ourselves these days, is when I go to a major conference, these companies have big conferences and I walk around and there's a lot of people. There could be 400, 500, 600 people who do what I do. And by and large, the ones that suck at it are the loudest. They're the most obnoxious. All they want to talk about is money. All they want to talk, they got the cufflinks and the fancy tie and the $3,000 suit and they rolled up in a Porsche. And those guys they're not making the money. The people that walk up to me that I know are very successful, they are almost always universally the same thing. They're, how are you? How is your family? What are you doing to add value to your clients' lives? What are you doing to add value to your team, your staff? What are you doing for them? I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence that people who are genuinely adding value to other people's, really, isn't that what we're all doing? We're trying, hopefully, to add value to other people. We do this show to add value to people's lives, right? And we hope maybe once in a while somebody calls up and say, hey, man, I like you. I like your vibe. I like your style, whatever. I love Tammy's numbers, whatever. And we'd like to do business. That's cool. I'm all in favor of that. I'm not saying there's not a selfish motive, but you wouldn't do that if we didn't help you learn something, add some value to your life. So what I'm saying is, getting back to the original question, when you're hanging out with people, are these people adding value to your life, or are they just reflection of your knucklehead beliefs to start with, right? If they're just, yeah, you're right, that guy's a con artist, I hate him too, let's hate him together.
Yeah.
Right. That Mark Cuban, where does he get off doing his Shark Tank thing?
Making cheap prescription medicine.
Yeah, how dare Bill Gates give away all of his money to cure disease?
Fixing toilets or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. That's what people do. That's how they hate on people who are more successful. And it doesn't matter if it's Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or Richard Branson. It could just be the guy down the street that they don't like because he seems to be doing a little better than they are. So, first of all, you want to stay away from those people. You want to stay away from people whose solution to everything is to find a scapegoat and pick on the person that appears to be ahead of them. No, jump over that idiot and go to the guy they're making fun of. Say, how'd you do this? The funny part of that is, Tammy, we've talked about this, is people who are successful at business or anything in life, usually they love to talk about it. They'd love to share with you. They want to give you ideas. So you don't need this radio show to get knowledge, although we appreciate you listen. But there are people in your community who will happily tell you anything. But what you find with people like that is most people approach them to just, what's the shortcut? How'd you do this? Well, here's what happened, Ryan, is when I was 18, I was unloading trucks. I worked at night, and then I get up early in the morning, I do this other thing, and then in the afternoon, I did a different thing, and I'd sleep like 3 hours a day till I did this, and that went on for 10 years, and then I went broke 3 times in between. But then eventually I did this, and this, and then I drove an Uber, and then this other thing, and now I'm a millionaire 25 years later. No,
what's the shortcut?
No, Ryan, you're not hearing me. What did you do to get rich?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when I was 18, they don't want anything to do with that.
Well, you mean 25 years? I don't want this. I want 25 days.
No, not even 25 days.
It is true. I've definitely I've had the chance to meet some pretty successful people, and I've heard people ask that. Well, I've been in, they've given them a straight answer, and they're like, yeah, but no, but really, if I want to do it right now.
No, this is me, man.
Yeah. You didn't understand what I was saying. Yeah. So you're not going to get that next segment. There's not going to be the secret that we're going to give away. Check out Scott's new radio show. I've never made anyone listen to radio, by the way.
Please stop listening.
Yeah, you don't need this radio show. Yeah. But we will be back with a new segment. Go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com while you're waiting. And we'll be right back with more It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. Welcome back to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. And I hope you're having a lovely Sunday. I'm here with financial advisors Scott Brown and Tammy from Edgewater Family Wealth. Edgewaterfamilywealth.com is the website to get a hold of these gentlemen. And it's I highly recommend doing that because like I said earlier, I feel like I'm doing much better financially since we started this show. I think we're something like 30 episodes in, and yes, it's going well. Currently, my advice that I'm listening to is just hold, Ryan. Just hold through dark September and October. I'll be 1% richer.
Yes, yeah.
But I have a question. We don't want to take emails, and if you want to email the show, we can do edgewaterfamilywealth at raymondjames.com. That's the website, edgewaterfamilywealth at raymondjames.com. One more time for you. But my question is generally I was talking to somebody, a friend of mine, and we were trying to decide when someone is rich. You know what I mean? What's the number? And we actually had different thoughts on it. I came from the school of thought of I've always heard that once you hit a certain number, it's somewhere around $70,000, your happiness level for money doesn't get any higher, right? You're just you can go from $70,000 a year to $300,000 a year. Your happiness from what you get from money isn't going to change. So I said, that's when you're rich. Because it's a pretty good number. And of course, he's like, it's $1 million, bro. That's when you're rich. Now, as a financial advisors, gentlemen, what is your take on that?
Well, there's a famous study that references that $70,000 number, which I don't know, probably is a few years old now, but sustenance, if you will, a roof over your head. You're not worried about food. You're not worried about shelter. You're not worried about your health. You can get health care. There are many studies that show that your happiness does not escalate from that point, right? Because there are a lot of unhappy rich people. I know a lot of them. There are a lot of people who have massive wealth that are just terrible human beings and terribly unhappy. And there are a lot of people who are not of much means that are very happy people. So it is relative to the human being. I think, again, if you withdraw or extract the fear of your health care, the fear of shelter during a storm, the fear of being able to eat for your family, for your children, being able to educate your children, those are things that are critical to human existence, I would argue. But once you get beyond that, I think it's totally individual. You can't. Some people say, well, money is the root of all evil, and really the saying is the worship of money is if you're in love with money, you like the idea of just having a lot of it. I mean, that's probably not a healthy attitude. I wouldn't say. I certainly don't feel that way. Money is a means to an end, and you can say, well, having too much money is bad, and I say, well, maybe, but you can do more charitable stuff. You can give more money to organizations. I mean, I wrote a check to an organization for the storm victims. We did some other things for storm victims. There's scholarships you can fund. There's all kinds of things you can do with money that are wonderful things if you have more of it. Not to say people don't do silly things and aren't into consumerism, but I would say wealth is entirely relative, and there are people who are relatively rich who have 60, 70, 80 grand a year because they live simple existences. They don't have a big house. Their house has been paid for years. They like to do one. Maybe they're people that just like their time in the garden. They like their time at a nice lunch with a friend. Their idea of happiness, which is undefinable in best I can tell. Their idea of happiness is not the numbers on their bank statement. It's, can I go to lunch with my friend? Can I have dinner with my spouse? Can I do a trip to, 100 miles away to see my cousin for a couple of days? Do I have a good book to read? I have a client who's somewhat wealthy. I don't think she goes anywhere. She loves, in fact, she used to own a bookstore. She's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. And she'll know who she is when she hears this. And she's as happy as any person can possibly be. And her favorite thing in the world is a good book. She's that one that has the shirt that says, I'm quietly correcting your grammar. She has one of those shirts, and she is, by the way. Yes, I know who's and who's, but
it's easier when it's not written down.
Yeah, it is. It is. The reality is, I don't think there is a number. Again, if you're poor, if you're impoverished, which very few people are totally impoverished in this country, where they can't get food or shelter. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but we're lucky in this country, and sometimes I don't think we appreciate that there's not a lot of that. And if there is some, there's usually resources for it if you're willing to work hard enough to get them. So I would say happiness is what I tell my kids and what I tell young people all the time, especially in my office, is we're not looking for happiness, because I don't really even know what that is. Is happiness when you're giggling with your friends or telling a good joke or laughing out loud? Maybe. I don't know. But I feel like,
check out Scott's new children's series, I've Never Made Anyone Happy.
There's a whole series of books coming out of things I've never done. I'm an expert in things I've never done. But the reality is purpose. I think people seek purpose and meaning in their life. That's what work gives us, and I know people will push back on this, but I believe human beings get their greatest joy from accomplishment. Whether that's working out, you did a good hour in the gym, and I told my kids to look for the good tired. I call it the good tired. It's when you put in a good day's work, you did something that added value to somebody's life. Maybe you did something that was hard that you didn't think you could do, or made you uncomfortable, learning a new language, going back to school, working a second job, finally, fixing that thing in the backyard you've been avoiding for 6 months, or cleaning out the closet, or straightening up the garage, or, whatever it is, get the good tired. That's what I think we seek as human beings, is purpose and meaning. And if you don't get purpose and meaning from somebody handing you a bunch of money, winning the lottery gives you no purpose or meaning. It gives you a big headache is what it gives you. Most of the people who win the lottery, for example, ill-gotten money gives you an ill-gotten life, I think. If you come by money that you didn't earn, you know it, and it doesn't feel good. And I've seen it over the years with people who inherit lots of money. And they're not generally, no, I'm not saying exclusively, there's some that are perfectly fine and have found other purpose in their life through charitable work or things like that. But on average, those people are not the happiest, because, again, somebody gave them something and they don't have any appreciation for how it was done. And when they go to bed at night, they don't know how they got it. They don't know if it went away, what they would do. And I just don't think that's purpose and meaning. So the answer, that really wasn't a great answer to your question, other than to say I don't think we can measure happiness, number one. Number two, I think what we're seeking is not happiness, but purpose and meaning. And regardless of your net worth, as long as you have sustenance, I think you can find happiness.
Interesting. I think that was a good answer. My second question, then, you talk about ill-gotten gains and winning the lottery. I win the lottery, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Just me, dumb me.
Yeah.
First thing I do, let's call it $5 million.
Not right.
All right.
Right.
First thing I'm doing, jet skis.
Yes.
Jet skis all day.
Lots of them.
Several jet skis, one for each foot.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm doing.
Yep.
As a man who's good with money, both of you guys, Scott and Tammy, who are good with money, what $5 million thrown at you, win the lottery. You don't play the lottery, but in this situation, somebody gave you a Christmas ticket for Christmas.
Yep.
What are you doing?
What am I doing with $5 million?
$5 million.
You won't A, like, or B, believe the answer.
Okay.
I would give it away.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
I believe you. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And if you are giving it away, can I have it? I need jet skis.
Yes, you can have some of it. You'll get the first check.
Okay.
Yeah, I would give it away, and I hopefully find some organizations that would benefit from it. That would again. I know this is preachy, and I don't know how I got on this path today. I think I've been reading a lot of stuff on this topic. I find this topic interesting. Is that if we're not providing value for the value we get, it just doesn't feel right. The universe isn't right, and I think the greatest, if you're giving value to other people, like if there are children in need or there are storm victims through no fault of their own, their lives are decimated right now, many of them, right? And if we could add value to their lives, to me, that's better than having money, right? That's a different kind of currency. And I'm getting a little preachy here, but to me, if I won $5 million because somebody gave me a lottery ticket, which nobody would do because everybody knows I hate the lottery. But if they did, and they snuck it into my stocking, and I won $5 million, first thing I would do is figure out how to give it away.
Gotcha. Tammy, you going jet ski route? You seem like a jet ski man.
Ferrari first.
I would say, what is a jet ski again?
Do they have those?
No, I tried that. It's cool. I fell over it, and it was really funny. But you don't want to see me because somebody took a picture of me as I was falling. Yeah, it was not funny when I looked at that. I said, "Do you want to buy it for like $50 the picture?" Like, no, I'm good.
All right. Well, good times. I think this was the fun Sunday. I know I learned a lot, and I don't think you're being preachy at all. I think you're, especially in this time right now, coming out of what Florida's just gone through, still going through.
Yeah.
It's good to keep your neighbors in your mind, in your heart, and if you can help somebody out right now, do that. Whether it doesn't have to be stroking a check. It could be getting out there on the streets and obviously your family in Naples, I wish them the best, but I mean, we have people here right by the station. Crane's Roost is flooded still, and people are still dealing with a lot of that. So definitely help out your neighbor if you can. Anything else you guys want to say before we head out of here?
Well, always great being here, and I hope everyone stays safe and have a good Sunday.
Yeah. Enjoy your Sunday and go visit a local shop. That's helpful as well.
All right. You're listening to It's Only Money here on Real Radio 104.1. We will be back next week. See you then. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and clearly people are rich, right? Or wealthy. You don't have to be rich. I like the term wealthy better. I mean, to rich reminds me of like the Monopoly guy or something. But, there are people, there are regular people.
Now that guy I trust. The problem, Scott, you don't have a monocle.
Monocle is, now, if you can meet a guy with a monocle, I mean, like, I'm all in.
What was his financial advice? He said buy Park Place?
Where is that?
Where is that? I can't find it.
Tune in to It's Only Money with Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth, Sunday mornings at 7 on Real Radio 104.1. Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Edgewater Family Wealth is not a broker-dealer, is independent of RJFS.